if we don't get all of our stored food into a protected area, it will freeze tonight. How are the goats looking?
They look good. Sweetie looks fine.
Is he limping now?
No.
Oh, good.
I mean, not that I can tell. He doesn't look like he's limping. I'm just giving them their alfalfa. I like to give my goats alfalfa in the winter. It just kind of helps keep up their weight. And I didn't always do that, but I started that last year. And I really, no, not last year. When did I start that? I don't remember. I do think that it's a good practice, and did see better weight maintenance by giving them alfalfa in the winter time instead of just hay and forage.
The cold weather is coming on fast now. We got out of the camper just in time to miss it. It's supposed to hit 32 tonight, and then in 2 nights it's supposed to hit 22 degrees, which that's actually pretty cold for around here, and everything is soggy wet. I almost slipped and fell on my butt last night. Everything is just, it's been raining for days. And it reminds me of that Robert Frost poem. You remember that poem? He says, "My sorrow when she's here with me thinks these dark days of autumn rain are beautiful as days can be." Well, I used to think that way, but now I kind of hate it because it's just so impractical for the animals. Everything gets torn up, and I'm over it. But this is just every fall here. We have this long period of rain. We're giving all the animals extra bedding, so the goats are getting extra bedding in here. We'll give the pigs some extra bedding to get them up out of the muck tonight, especially in their house, so they're not sleeping on frozen ground. The cows don't need dry bedding to stay warm. They're actually doing exactly what they need to do to stay warm this winter, which is growing in their winter coats and chowing down on hay. And we're actually feeding extra hay this time of year to make sure that they keep their weights up and stay warm on these cold nights. And I like to put it in the far reaches of the pasture to push their manure drop into the upper areas of the pasture that are just naturally less lush. All right, this is my last trip out to make sure they have what they need. I've got dry minerals for them because it's been soaking raining. We're finishing moving up to the rental house. At the same time, we're getting some farm food because Bree's birthday's coming up, so we're gonna cook her a special meal. Grace is getting some steaks from the freezer.
One of my favorite things in a salad is cilantro. I'm going to get a few nasturtium flowers to make my salad for dinner pretty. These are the last ones. Only 2, but it'll still be nice. Oops. Did you know if you... I don't think I can fit any more in the refrigerator up at the rental, but I wanted to get enough greens for the week. I don't know if this will last the week, but maybe it will. It truly feels like a birthday. Look at all the gifts my garden gave me.
We've got onions and potatoes. Well, good. food look good to you?
Perfect. Yeah, this bouquet blesses me incredibly. The last bouquet from the garden.
Wait a second. Are you using a crab pot to catch a chicken?
Yes. It's probably unnecessary. Might as well feed them over here.
We have about an hour to get all of the food that would freeze if it was left out, and we have to pack it all up and bring it up to the rental house.
Yeah, we just need to get it out of the barn. If it freezes, it'll get mushy and spoil.
This is what root cellars are for. As important as that space being cool, which is I think what everyone thinks about, is the space actually being warm enough. Even if your space isn't cool enough, your stuff will still last. Potatoes will last, everything will last for a long time, just in your closet.
Just not as long.
But things won't last at all below freezing. So root cellars really primarily protect against freezing, but they also provide a cool space. So we're checking our squash to start with, and we're just gonna peek in every box and make sure there's no bad ones.
Look good.
Right. These are butternut squash, one of our favorite storage foods.
Our harvest this year was small for squash, but it was really, for butternut squash, but it was really big for sweet potatoes, so it balances out. I did not go after the squash bugs this year like I usually do. They're very similar, so if one doesn't do well, but another does, you can kind of, you can kind of like replace one for the other in recipes.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, I mean, you can even use sweet potatoes for pumpkin pie. You use butternut squash for pumpkin pie. Sweet and savory. They go both ways, so they're just great. Butternut squash is extremely easy to store. We're used to growing them about this big, but all of ours are very small this year. But we're still gonna eat them, and they're still gonna taste good.
Next, we're turning our attention to sweet potatoes, and we have them laid out here on the floor of the barn to dry or cure. And now we're just gonna box them up so we can carry them easily. And also check them periodically through the winter by just going through these boxes and looking at this single layer of potatoes. Are these little ones going to be really hard to cook?
They're just all shriveled up. We're gonna give them to the pigs. I like cooking little ones.
What's your favorite way to cook sweet potatoes?
Sweet potato fries is my favorite way for sweet potatoes. Or just, you know, just roasted, basically. No, we have a lot of really good sized ones, and I don't even like them huge. You know what I mean?
But
like that's a good size, that's a good size. There's tons of good sized ones.
There's just a lot of little ones.
But there's a lot of little ones. So yeah, I'd like to get better at growing consistently their size I like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Oh, you're getting 2 boxes. The potatoes look really good.
Good.
We've been storing them here covered so they'd be dark, but now it's time to put them in their proper storage spot. It was actually kind of small considering how many we grew, how many plants we grew, but because we grew so much, we had a good harvest. Does that make sense?
We should have gotten a lot more for the row foot that we had, but.
Is that the last of them?
Nope.
We grabbed this small box. It's heavier than it looks. Alright, that's the taters. Now we gotta get the onions.
Where are we gonna put them all? Look at that, it's full.
I know, I knew it would be. Okay. I think the onions will just fill up like one seat.
Okay.
If they're all laid on top of each other. And if they fill up more, like, and we can't all fit, y'all can just walk up to the house. I want to put the loose onions in the boxes. I still have some loose onions over there.
A lot of our onions are in these beautiful strings Brianna made, and we have quite a few that haven't been braided yet.
Ooh, here's a rotten one. Grab that. Help me get this rotten one off. Ugh. Rotten onions are nasty.
What's your favorite way to eat onions?
I mean, my favorite way, but the most time consuming is like breaded and fried.
Onion rings?
No, just, sure. Yeah, in like homemade beef tallow or pig lard. Homemade green bean casserole with like your homemade homegrown fried onions on top. Amazing. I'm just grabbing the ones that I haven't braided yet. I honestly just forgot these were here. So I'm sorting them. There's some rotten ones. There's a lot of good ones. Some of them are sprouting. What does that say about me? I threw away the rotten ones. Tied up all the good ones. Oh, rotten onions are so disgusting. Especially when you don't see it's rotten and then you go to grab it and it just, your hand just like goes into all the mush. It's so gross.
I've got to get a couple fermented foods and bring them up so they don't freeze. The sauerkraut that's under this barn will be fine tonight. I probably need to get it out tomorrow. I'm not getting it all tonight, but this big batch, this big 2-gallon crock of sauerkraut, which is beautiful, needs to come up right now. Oh, it's really good. That's about 2 weeks old. I'm actually glad there's not a lot of brine because it would probably slosh out in the car. I'm grabbing these, this hot sauce, fermenting hot sauce, the love of my life. I mean, sorry, Brie. And this, on top of it, there's this crusted salt. You should taste this.
I don't want to.
Why not?
Can I taste it?
It's basically like hot pepper salt. It looks kind of gross, but it's beautiful.
Is it tasty?
It's tasty.
Can I have some of it?
A tiny piece. Tiny, tiny piece. Ready? Here. Yummy, huh? Was that yummy?
Uh-huh.
Last but not least, we gotta protect some of our garden crops.
Thanks.
Next, we're putting a row cover over 3 of our rows in our garden. We're putting it over any row with Swiss chard or lettuce, which is 3 of them. And the one with just kale, we're actually leaving completely uncovered, and it should do okay. These are coated fiberglass rods, and we've had a bunch of people ask us where to get them online, and we got these from 5th Season in Asheville, North Carolina. I don't think they ship them.
They don't. Here you go. Yeah, good job. That's such a fun job.
What are we doing?
I'm gonna put these holes in the ground.
I'm going to eat this.
Eat it.
What are we doing?
What?
What are we doing?
You're just eating kale in the garden? Look at these kids gobbling kale.
I know. It's so funny. No, it's in the garden.
What in the world? How did they get through there? What? All summer long the goats stay in the pasture and then...
Yeah, but if they get into that, they will eat it down. We obviously need to fix our gates. That's next year's project. Glory, glory, look at these. These are a volunteer mustard greens. Did you taste them?
No.
They are so spicy. I wonder if could you do fermented mustard greens?
Oh yeah.
I'm gonna give them some mustard greens and see what they do, because they're spicy.
Not a complaint.
Hold on, let's watch for a second. It takes it a minute to tingle your tongue. Yeah, he does not seem to care at all.
They're missing all the fun, you're right. We're running into a problem because this fabric isn't wide enough for these hoops. And so there won't be enough to weigh down on the edges, like it's just barely touching the ground on each side. You have to weigh this stuff down really well or the wind will blow it off. And that's what I'm doing here, is just trying to push all these poles in. I'm not even sure if we can do it.
The reason he's saying he's not sure if we can do it is because of rocks.
I'm hitting rocks everywhere, and I need to get these in about 8 to 12 inches. There's a spot.
Mama, I have a surprise for you.
Okay. He put a hot pepper inside a sweet pepper, thinking I'd take a bite. That's tricky. Good thing I didn't take a bite. You take a bite.
Okay.
This fabric that we're putting over our garden, over our rows, is called row cover. And the kind that we're using is called Agribon 50. What it does is it basically just extends the season of our garden. This level of Agribon will protect down to 8 degrees. Now, I've never actually used it before. At that level, I've never done Agribon 50 before, so we'll see. But it's not supposed to be 8 degrees this weekend. I think it's been down to like 24. It's really light. It's easy to put on. I do wish it was wider, but you can probably get wider widths if you buy it in like custom rolls or something. I just got this at one of our local farm stores. So this is awesome because this means that for certain crops like Swiss chard, my cilantro, my lettuces, they will just turn to mush on a freeze. And this will actually allow them to continue to feed my family. Now, my plants will not continue to grow just because there's Agribon on it, but they will be protected from the frost, so they'll continue to feed us.
This may be difficult to tell, but Arthur's solution to getting the rods low enough was to actually put them diagonally, and it's making a huge difference.
Since we couldn't actually push them down into the ground quite low enough.
Here, I'm gonna hand you a bag. Walk down that road and we'll get on each side of it. It doesn't really cover that kale.
Well, the kale doesn't need it, it's the Swiss chard that needs it. So,
let's try to weigh that down more so it doesn't blow off. All right, you feel better? You're the one who wanted to do this. I would rather just let it all freeze and grow hardy stuff.
You crazy.
What did we learn? We learned if you're going to try to cover mature plants, you need wider fabric because that kale is so huge. It does great on these little beds of smaller plants because we can get the hoops down low enough, but on the kale, there's just no way that it can span that.
Yeah, I think that you can order wider widths, like from online stores. So I'll have to remember that for next year.
If this just is blowing off because the edge is up here because we can't get it down, we may need to just cut the fabric and actually tear out one row and weigh it down in the middle and just leave the kale totally uncovered. You know what I mean?
Yeah, the kale doesn't need to be covered, so that would be fine. The reason we're covering that row is because there's Swiss chard in that row.
Hey, buddy, return it.
We've been busy down here. It's getting late. It is almost 7. I've still got to go feed the cows, and then we're heading up to the house to cook supper at 7 o'clock. This van is sagging like we're drug runners.
Don't say that. Don't say that.
Of course I'm going to say that. That's what cops look for.
When people ask me, how was your birthday? I'm going to say it was awesome. We saved a year's worth of food from the frost.
Potatoes, sweet potatoes, squash, onions, sauerkraut, and my baby.
Do you want flour on your salad?
Happy birthday, Brianna.
Thank you.
Hey, guess what kind of pie we made?
A good one, I'm sure.
A good pie. That's what kind of. Lemon meringue.
But Mama, do you? Yes, lemon meringue. And I made the fluffy stuff on the top. What's it called?
Meringue.
Yeah, I made the meringue.
My sweet sister-in-law and my girls made me pie because I don't love cake.
And Priscilla.
Congratulations on 30 years. 30 trips around the sun.
30 plus almost 10. I've earned my extra decade, thank you. In the last 10 years, I've had most of my children and most of my adult living, so I'm gonna claim those and the wrinkles too.
Okay, the party's over. Everyone's sleeping. The birthday girl didn't make it this late. She partied so hard she passed out. We couldn't even finish the video together. And it's time to go to bed. We'll see y'all tomorrow. Bye-bye.